Welcome to my view of the market. Today is Tuesday, December 2. You're looking at a daily chart of the Nasdaq, which advanced 137 points or 0.59%, closed at 23,413. You can see the volume 23% below the 50-day average. So even below yesterday's volume where the Nasdaq fell, what about 90 points or something? On Monday, here the first day of the month. Yeah, it fell 90 points. So today rallied 137 points and it closed 1.7% above the 21, 1.9% above the 50. So we're getting back into this trend higher. So all looks good on the surface, right? After we had this 62% rally, we had a 9% pullback, and now we're just back into rally mode. The problem is that the large cap tech stocks are kind of masking a lot of the weakness in this market. And many of the winners that were, leading during this rally here have sold off during the correction, and they're not participating in this new rally. So rotation, rotation, rotation. That's what we've seen all year. It's healthy for the bull market longer term, but you have to recognize that when your stocks are out of favor, that you kind of have to, I don't know, I don't like taking losses, so I just sell them and kind of rotate into what the market wants. But that causes for more like day trading. This undercut and rally, you're seeing a lot of stocks, that are doing that. So if you bought them as they rallied through, you're probably doing okay. If you're buying breakouts, you're probably not. Anyway, I'm going to move on here. This is the Nasdaq, and I don't trade indexes, so it looks like we have some real decent tailwinds from the market. But I'm going to dive in here a little bit. Apple is one that is just making new highs now. One of their was it earbuds was one of the top selling items on Black Friday. I think I don't know who was it, Salesforce or Adobe or I don't know what outfit said that they were, I don't know, one of the top three selling items for Christmas or Black Friday, last week. So the index, excuse me, Apple, which essentially is the index, has rallied this week 2.6%. So Apple making new highs, showing strength, and just, surfing its 21 there as long as it's finding support. Also, NVIDIA kind of helping a little bit. I mean, it's still under the 50 here. It did rally up to the 50 today, but yeah, it's been up the last couple of days, a couple percent. Let's see for the week. Yeah, 2.5% for NVIDIA. I'd like to see it rally back through the 50, but we know we'll take it one day at a time. But that's the type of, these things are going to move the indexes. So, Amazon, they came out with news today with a new chip and, it was up 1/4%, another one up 1/4%, just little moves here for Google as it had this big move on news last week, now pulls back to its 5 this week. So that looks pretty good. You got to buy pullbacks when these breakouts are just not doing it for me. Meta, let's check in on Meta. Yeah, below the it finally made a bottom, now rallied back up, but below the 200 and the 50. So pretty weak stock right there. Tesla, same thing, rallied up to the 50 and then found some resistance there. So it needs to, break through that level. I just can't get excited about this stuff. Yeah, it's just not my thing. Anyway, I'm going to move on because last night we had some earnings. This morning we had some earnings. Signet Jewelers, they reported, not a horrific quarter, but their guidance was conservative and the stock sold off, nearly 7%. And another name that reported last night was, and I got to check this out because what I saw today was a really weak close in a lot of stocks. They look like this. This is the same thing that we saw on a Monday. Stocks looking like this into the close, and I think the close is a big tell. And there's just a lot of stocks that were closing weak today. I want to get to MDB. This one opened up higher, got up to like 420 and closed it 401.99 here, 12% of the daily range. We could see this. Yeah, breakouts just are not going to work in this tape right now. So you got to have a new strategy or a different strategy. Also, Credo had a real strong report, and this one closed 6% of the daily range. Gosh, 188. This is really disheartening here. Yeah, rallied up, looked really strong this all day long. The last hour, though, last 2 hours, just selling. And yeah, that bothers me a little bit with this tape. So you just have to recognize that the market that you're in, and it's not that great. All right, I mentioned I want to get to the semiconductor names because it's really interesting in the semiconductor space. Broadcom, I showed you NVIDIA earlier, but Broadcom had this big move last week as a partner with Google and now pulled back 2 days this week to the five. So I'm waiting for that one to bounce. I don't know if it bounces off the five, the 21, or where it's going to bounce. I don't want to buy a dip. I want to buy a bounce in this market. And you just got to be patient. AMD, another one rejected here. This is evil right here. It had some strong move above the 50, and it's called the old looky-loo, right? The look above, look above in the morning. Okay, we're ripping higher, and then whoop, the rug pull right into the close. That's extremely. I'm not going to say bearish. It's just very tricky. Manipulative. I don't know. I could just say there's a lot of sharks on Wall Street, and the guppies here need to stay away from the sharks because they'll eat you alive. They're very hungry. This is ALAB, kind of the same thing as AMD, but just a lot more pronounced here as it rallied up into the open. Yeah, 182.53. You're thinking, wow, this thing's ripping up to 200. Then all of a sudden the rug pull all the way down to 142. Man, that is a 182 to 142 in a day. That is a horrific move for ALAB. You could say it got rejected at the 50, couldn't you? Man, if you went short on that one, congrats. But I have trouble, switching from uh, from long to short, and this market's not really made for shorting. We're in an uptrend, but that was a nasty move from ALAB today. Taiwan Semiconductor just consolidating within a base. This one still looks good. Little calmer than ALAB and AMD here. Just surfing the moving averages to higher prices. I like Taiwan. Did I buy it? No. But yeah, I think it's still actionable right here in this base. That one looks pretty good. TSEM, not to be confused with TSM. This is a Tower Semiconductor, a fabless name that just wants higher prices. And I don't hear anybody talking about this one. It's just quietly grinding higher. Do I own it? No, but it looks like it's in price discovery mode here. Just wants higher. A couple other names in this group. ASML, this one has a monopoly in the equipment space and yeah, making new highs, yeah, up $20 today, which is only like what, less than 2%. We could take a look at this on the 5-minute chart. You can see a big rally on Monday, followed through with a big rally on Tuesday. Yeah, ASML looks real good, looking like a leadership in this group. Same with Applied Materials here, up 4%. So semis is really hit and miss. There's some ones that are doing really well, and there's ones that aren't doing so well. Lam Research, one that took a big hit during the this correction here in November, undercut the 50, and now trying to get back above the moving averages. That one looks okay, but not like those other two that I just showed you making new highs. All right, ADI. There's another one that's strong, just breaking out here. I just said breakouts don't work. It's working for analog devices, AMKR. It's a tricky market, folks. This is AMKR 3822. That would be a legitimate, Darvis box or a base, if you will, and that's breaking out too, 7% today. So. That one looks good. A couple others, CAMT. This is not a semiconductor, but I just put it in here. Just kind of noticing the undercut and rally. So I'm going to see how it handles that 50-day moving average. And then, of course, Intel has now become a government entity. I don't know. Say what you will. The stock's going higher, and yeah, making new highs for Intel. So good for Intel longs. All right, I want to go through a couple of groups here, just a couple of themes. Bloom Energy, this is another tricky name here, right? Undercut the 50 on that tantrum day where it went down to 76, right? Oh, this is the tantrum day. Sliced the 50 on the tantrum day, then made a new low and then rallied up. 76 was the low there, and it's just been making higher lows ever since. Just an inside day today. Remember yesterday I talked about the bearish engulfing, which is going to kind of empower the or embolden the bears, to push this thing lower, but they couldn't. Pretty decent day today for BE. I want to take a look at this. Yeah. Yeah, kind of strength all day, some selling into the middle, but once again, this close here, this bugs me. I mean, why can't they hold their gains? There's just a lot of sellers out there. Like I say, there's sharks out there to take your money. You got to think like a thief, man. Anytime a stock spikes, you got to sell it. It's turning me into a day trader, and I don't like it at all. I like to be able to hold names, but with this volatility, I just cannot stand losing money. GEV, another one consolidating in a base above the moving average. That one looks pretty darn good. I think that's actionable right there, along with Taiwan Semi. Those would be two good names to pair up. Vertiv Holdings, another one that looked like it was going to move today, and then just look at this close. The closes are just so weak, and like I said, the open is strong and the close is weak, and that's just not a good recipe, folks. Yeah, I mean, you could say, oh, it was up, it was up 1% today. Yeah, not bad, but man, this cannot stand prosperity here. Cannot maintain any strength at all. A couple other these power names. IREN, they had a secondary offering down 15% today, but it was just all into the close. Look at this. Man, look at this. Selling. And CIFR, the same thing. Yeah, this thing just fall off a cliff into the close here. The Nebius, same thing, falling off into the close. CoreWeave, yeah, just these are weak. These are weak stocks, and like I said, when the Nasdaq was rallying, these were some of the stocks that were kind of the leaders in making these big moves, but now they're correcting. Cypher had an undercut and a rally last week, but now giving it back. And then Iris was a big leader. Went from like $5 to 75 or whatever. So give it a break. It's digesting gains, but you can see the tight action here. And then once it starts getting wide and loose, that's your enemy. And I'm going to get into that with a couple names here. Starting with, oh no, I have a couple more to get to here. A couple more that I was watching that I like, but man, they're just so, yeah, they're just so volatile, man. It's just, yeah, here we go. Robinhood, look, I was having a good day into the close, just mega selling into the close. Don't like that. App Lovin had a good day. In the morning, I looked at this up like $45, and then it closed in the middle of the daily range, but you can see on the 5-minute chart, yeah, it was up nearly 5%. Looked like it was really going to have a monster day, and then nope. They're just selling spikes. So you kind of have to do the same thing. You have to play the game. That's the market that we're in. Even though I have green market environment because the index is going higher, this is not conducive to breakouts or gaps and go. Back in October, after 3 or 4 weeks in a row, I made these weekend videos where we saw all these stocks gapping up and going, and it was incredible, strong market. And then November kind of crushed all that momentum, and now we're just seeing these gaps just being squatted on. So you just have to recognize the market that you're in. That's all I can say. Did I show you Reddit? I like Reddit, but man, same thing. It was making this nice move today. At the open, the first hour or so, and you think, okay, we're gonna have a good day. I tell you, I walked my dog this morning. I had I forget what stock, what Western Digital was one. I'm gonna get to those in a minute. And as they were up pretty strong, and I took a walk, I looked at my phone about a half hour into my walk. I'm going, what the heck happened here? I can't leave for half an hour without the whole thing falling apart. Um, yeah, this is just selling into the close. TMDX, I think this one was having a good day. It opened strong, selling all day. Wow, closed at 141. Wow. Look at the daily range. 5% of the daily range, they're selling off and closing at the lows of the session. So just not a good environment. I'm just pointing it out. I know that the index is higher, but a lot of this stuff is weak. And I mentioned Western Digital, so I'll go to the computer data storage stocks. And they had a report this morning that the might have been Samsung that there's a shortage of memory, which I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my memory. I think that was a story. they're losing. There's strong demand for memory. There's not enough supply, so there's pricing power for these stocks. So you'd think they would be just ripping higher, and this one did pull back to the 50 and bounce higher, but today fell out. It's just. Yeah, look at this open here. I said, okay, I'm up 15 minutes in the market. Okay, it's up 169. I look at my phone, 45 minutes, half hour later, and it's at 156. I'm going, WTF. I'm like, goodness, what is going on here? And then just it did rally up, but look at these another weak close here for these stocks. So not looking good for this group. I mean, they're above moving averages, right? Don't get me wrong. This one pulled back to the 50, rallied up, but you want to see a continuation, and getting above that 260, that old high. And I think it'll get there. It's not going to be easy. How about that? Nothing worthwhile in life is easy, as my dad always told me. Micron, there you go again. Just yeah, open it up and you get the old okey doke, right? And they just pull the rug on you, and you think your good day turns into a not so good day. The moral of the story is don't walk your dog. No, he goes crazy if I wouldn't walk him. Okay, Sandus, this one to me just needs a base. I have some friends who are still buying this, and I just think it needs the base. Like I mentioned earlier, this volatility, these big bars here are your enemy. The tight trading bars, we like that on the way up, surfing the moving average. Once it starts getting wide and loose there, this bar here is just horrific. Yeah, I would just stay away from that one. Let it base, let it do its thing. What was the other one? Did I do Seagate? It's all the same thing here with these Western Digital, Seagate. SanDisk is the one that was in price discovery mode and just got ahead of itself. Now it needs the base. But Seagate, Micron, Western Digital look pretty darn good to me. I wrote down INTAP for a reason. Okay, undercut the 50 in this pattern rec's not picking them up. We're seeing a lot of these names here looking like this. Uh, yeah, this looks like double bottoms to me. I see it on Reddit, AppLovin, Robinhood, just a lot of those names showing double bottom base patterns. All right, the drug names, I talked about the rotation. We saw a rotation out of drugs mostly. I'm just going to show a few that didn't, that kind of bucked the trend today. ARWR was one of them. DRUG, one of the best ticker symbols ever. Drug trying to break out of a base here, but what was the daily range here? Close at the lows of the session. Yeah, so just a fake breakout. 79 or 70, what, 76 down to 70. That's like a nearly a 10% move, and that's not a real liquid chart. TEVA making a new high. Yeah, but in VERA, Vera trying to break out. That one at least closed in the middle of its daily range. But Lilly is kind of the big dog here in the drug land, and this one made a high of 111, 11, 11. Ones are wild, and sold off the last four sessions. Just I shouldn't say get a little ahead of itself. It's just profit taking. It's pulling back. Maybe it'll pull back to the 21. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, it had its big move and now it's showing weakness. There you go again. These weak closes. I can't stand this. Yeah, just I guess you could short it, right? Buy puts in the middle of the day and watch them like the Wicked Witch of the West. I'm melting. They melt into the close. Anyway. What else do I have? Okay, some retail names. Walmart, obviously, Dow Jones Industrial Average component, very strong, making new highs today. Looking good. Mamma mia. This one trying to break out of this 1149. This is they have the packaged food, frozen foods, refrigerated in the local supermarket. And then cocoa water, very hydrating. This one's making new highs, surfing the five. That one looks pretty good. Oh, and City Trends. I got to show City Trends because look at this bar here, man. You'd think you had a bad day. My goodness. So they report, and this thing was up in the pre-market. After reporting that it opened up here, what was it, 49.50, and then not very much, half an hour later, it's down to 37. That is a wild day. Some buyers came in, but it still closed down, 1.5% in the middle of its daily range. I guess you could just say that it pulled back to its 21 pound support and bounced, and it closed 5.7% above the 21. But that is a wild ride, man. You got to buckle your seatbelts for stuff like that. We've seen a lot of crazy moves around earnings, and that's why I say they're very dangerous. They're like they're like ticking time bombs when you trade those. Although I do it, but whatever I put in, is money that I could afford to lose. So anyway, got to look at the banks. XP. This is Brazil-based banks. Once again, this double bottom base pattern. I guess you could see it better on the weekly. Oh, this has got the Dolly Parton base on base pattern on the daily though. That's a double bottom. So that one looks okay. BNS, they're foreign banks. I should clarify this. These foreign banks, this is a Bank of Nova Scotia, obviously a Canada bank making new highs, looking, pretty darn strong. SMFG, Sumitomo, I guess you could say that's probably a Japanese bank making new highs. Man, that broke out of a double bottom big time. So there are areas of the market that are doing well. It's just not a lot of those old leaders are struggling. They're taking profits from them. Even if the institutions like them, they get too big in their portfolio. They have to rotate out of them and buy other stuff. Barclays, looking pretty strong there. BCH, Banco de Chile, man, that one's pretty strong as well. And SYF, I have to throw in one American bank there, and it's just kind of breaking out there of this consolidation pattern. Could take a look at this on the weekly. Yeah, there you go. Just starting to emerge out of there, up 2% this week. Not looking too bad. Okay, so I mentioned, rotation, 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 and then, showed you the banks. The steel stocks are doing well. I think I had this on my ready list last week. I'm not sure if I included it this week. I had a ton of them on there, but I think I took it off because it got a little bit ahead of the moving average. But steel dynamics looks good. Nucor looks pretty darn good as well. Just pulling away, making new highs, surfing the moving averages. That looks good. ArcelorMittal, this is a Luxembourg-based steel producer and broken out last week and following through this week. Those look good. I hesitate to buy stuff that's up so much in this market because we're seeing so much selling and pulling back. I'd rather buy a bounce off a moving average. But anyway, I'm just showing you some strength, and the shippers are strong as well. Costa Mare. This is a Greek shipper, and obviously, making new highs, surfing the five, very strong. And nobody talks about the shippers because they're boring. And I'm really surprised the shippers are doing that well, because prices aren't, haven't risen substantially. Here you go. This is a perfect cup-shaped pattern. This handle is just a sideways action, allowing the five to catch up, and then it blasts higher. That looks good. That's Sea Energy. Maritime Holdings. And then what else we have? GSL Global, nice breakout. So, this is already moving, already broke out. And then one of my favorite chippers is Zim. How is Zim doing? Oh, it looks pretty good here. Yeah, nice consolidation in this stage one base. I guess you'd call that stage one, and then it pulled back, or actually stage one, stage two pulled back, undercut the prior base. So that's stage one, and down 4% this week, but you could see a big move last week. Yeah, it looks kind of like a little bit of a short stroke pattern here. As long as it's a quiet week. Yeah, up 21% last week, giving back four. Not bad for Zim. All right, that's it for me. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. Don't get caught in the rotation. Or if you bought right, you can hold through some of the volatility. But man, it's a tough market out there. Anyway, thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up, except in honor of the great Steve Jobs. I do have one more thing, and that is the Sydney Sweeney trade. I've been talking about this for a little while now. I think she's giving the company a boost. Um, this is a cup with handle pattern that it broke out of. It kind of pulled back like 2% today into the print. up 10% after hours on the real strong earnings report, real strong same store sales. The implied volatility from the options market was 20%. Heavy, heavy, heavy short interest in this one. I would think they would cover tomorrow. So that 10%, might go up a little more than that tomorrow, but wouldn't surprise me. Very strong numbers. GTLB, GitLab, the one that everybody's looking forward to. No, not really. Down 8% after hours. BOX was down as well. 5% after hours. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Okta, they were down as well. 4% CrowdStrike. This one kind of kills me. They raised guidance to what, 4 billion in sales. It's got 130 billion market cap, and they're going to do 4 billion forward sales. That's next year. So you're talking about what, 30 something times forward sales, man. This is getting to be in Palantir territory. A very expensive name, but you just trade the technicals here, and as long as it's going to be supported at the 50, it looks pretty decent. People love CrowdStrike. It is definitely a Wall Street darling, but man, I have a hard time with that type of valuation. That thing is super expensive. Anything goes wrong, and it's going to get a big haircut. Marvell up 15% after hours. I do not know what they said because it was down. Maybe they partnered with the government too. We'll have to wait and see on that. I know they were trying to purchase a company that I reported this morning, so that one looks good after hours. We like that. Pure Storage, not so much, down nearly 10%. I did not read the report, but nice undercut and rally. Would be nice if they can continue the momentum through the 159, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Anyway, you're going to have to be patient in this market. Patience is going to pay. I think we're going to go higher. We've got the Fed next week, and I think the market's going to rally. You see on the index, the 21 now back above the 50. It's closed above the 21, 5 sessions in a row. It's just a rotation within the market. So, the index looks real strong, but I just showed you a bunch of stocks that are not doing quite so well. And most of them are the leaders from the prior rally. So, anyway, I'll have more in the morning. Have a great evening at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up.